Hello everyone, this is Amanda, the Nerdy Krafter, and I'm here today to go through this mini album that I made at Ready Set Create 2025. It was designed originally as a 12 by 12 layout by Layle by Mail using her milestones and memories and postcards and passports, ephemera set, and additional items that she added to our kit. Again, this was originally a 12 by 12 layout, but I don't really do 12 by 12 layouts. So during the class, I went ahead and scaled this down into a 6 by 6 mini album. I did receive so many questions asking how did I do it. I was inspired by another artist, and I will link her information down below in the description box so you can follow along with her mini album also. But this was absolutely so much fun to make. Everybody in the class was taking a look at it. We were passing it around. I did a flip through that you can go find on my YouTube channel, and I'm going to quickly flip through it here. But if you want a little bit more details, you can grab that other video. These are the various different layouts that were there. And then I designed the front and back cover myself. But let's go ahead and get into the instructions on how to actually make this album. I will have instructions and a cutting guide available on my blog post, so you can head over to nerdykrafter.com and take a look at that. Remember, Krafter starts with a K. I am a nerd at heart, and I stink at spelling, so let's get started. I'm going to cut each of these pieces. We have an A, B, C, D, and E paper, and I'm going to mark each one and let you know what we're doing. I'm using an 8.5 by 11 paper. This is a craft paper. It is a thicker paper, so when I go to start scoring it, you'll see me working it a little bit more. It is a little bit more of a heavier weight than I used on my initial project, but I wanted to give it a try and try something different. I'm also using a lot of the extras that we had from class. So I ended up, because I made a smaller album, I ended up with a ton of extras. I did need my larger 12 by 12 cutter for this because the measurements on my small Tim Holtz, which I love dearly, just didn't go as far as I needed. So this first cut that I'm cutting is at 7 1/4. So it's going to be a 7 1/4 by 6 1/4 is going to be my A page. So, I think I did that 6 1/4. Sorry, 6 1/4, and now I'm going to the 7 1/4. So that is going to be my piece A, and I'm going to go ahead and mark that with a pen, so that way I remember each of my pages. They will be covered up with paper later on, as long as I don't go too close to the edge. This album is intended to have a 6 by 6 piece of paper on it, so layering over, so as long as I don't go to the edge, but it does allow for a 1/4 inch border around it. So we only needed one of those for our A, and that is our album base left. Our next one that we're going to trim down is 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. This is going to be the center, and keep all of the scraps off to the side. We are going to be able to use some of them later on, so don't worry about that. We all know I don't like scraps. So this one, again, 6 1/4 by 6 1/4. This is our album base center, and this is our B. Now we're going to grab another sheet of paper, and this one is going to be our album base right. And this is going to be 6 1/4 by 4 3/4. And it looks like I can use some of those scraps that we just had. So I'm going to grab that, measure to make sure I've got the right measurement at 4 3/4. And then I'm going to trim that down to 6 1/4. So this is going to be the album base right, which is going to be our closure or our flip on the front cover. And then we need to trim up some of our flaps. So for our flaps, we're going to need 4 of these. I'm sorry, that one was C, just in case you didn't write that one down. So for our flaps, we're going to need 4 flaps, and they are going to be 6 1/4 by 4 3/4. So I'm going to start at the 4 3/4, and I'll be able to get 2 of these per each sheet of paper. So I'm going to use 2 more pieces of paper here. And then I'm going to trim at the 4 3/4. I'm going to switch that around and do 6 1/4, and these are going to be the inside flaps. And like I said, I'm going to need 4. 2 of them are going to go on the A piece, and 2 of them are going to go on the B piece. So I'm trimming those down, and I'm going to mark these all as D. And then I'm going to grab one more sheet of paper. I'm double checking to see if I can get one more, and it looks like I can get one more out of that scrap. So there is another D. So I just need one more, so one additional sheet, and that will give me my last D, which is, again, 6 1/4 by 4 3/4. So I'm starting off at the 4 3/4. And then my last item that I'm going to need is a pocket to go on the inside of our center base B. So I'm going to use the leftover that I just cut. And this one I need a 3" by 7¼ So that's, I should be able to get that out of this last piece. So I'm going to start at the 3" mark here. Trim that and then switch that over and go to 7¼ on this. It's going to be a gusseted pocket, so I need a little extra room on both sides and the bottom for that pocket. So again, this is going to be E, and that will be covered either on the inside of the pocket or covered with pattern paper, so we don't need to worry about that. And I did write E pocket on there just so I didn't forget what it was. I'm going to move this off on the side, and I'm going to bring in my scoreboard at this point. It looks like I've got a little piece of scrap paper on my table there from my last project, but let's go ahead and start with A. So A, we're going to be trimming this one, score at 6¾ on the 7¼ inch side. So you can see this kind of goes off the side of my scoreboard here. So this is a 7¼ side, and we're going to score, it's going to be 1/2 inch on the inside. So it's going to be at 6¾ and then I'm going to go to the 6¼ and I'm going to score my next one. I want to do 1/8 inch scores all the way up to that 6¼ So I find that if I just go to that last one and then work my way back at those 1/8 inch marks, that helps me so I don't overscore what I need to score. Like I said, this is a really thick cardstock, so you'll see me going over it a couple times. I'll also flip it over on the reverse side and score the reverse side also. That just helps with the paper. So what we're making right now is this is going to be kind of the gusset on the sides of each side of our project. So this allows for us to add some bulk to it. If you watched my 49 in Market video flip through of that album, I had a lot of chipboard in there. I had shaker elements in there. So we do need a little bit of room for this project to grow and to add additional pages and stuff to it. So those nice little gussets on that outside edge is really helpful. So we don't have to do anything with our B paper. So just put that off on the side, and we're going to go to our C paper. So on the 4¾ inch side, we're going to score at 4¼ Again, a 1/2 inch flap there that we're going to use to join our pages together. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This one does have a couple more. Sorry. So 4¼ is our start, and then we're going to go to 3¾ because we got to make that gusset again, and then work our way back on that 1/8 inch. So again, starts at 4¼ and then goes to 3¾ and makes those scores all the way back. So again, this is our secondary gusset on the right side of our album. I'm scoring on both sides, working that paper, trying to break down the fibers so that it will move easier. And this allows, so it's going to have a 3¾ base basically, and allow me to do a 3" paper on top of it. So we'll give a nice border. So now we're on to our D's, which are our flaps, and we're going to score all of our D's at the exact same. So this is where it only has one score. So it's 4¼ on this one. So that's going to give me a 4" base to work on. So we've got score at 4¼ again. And again, all these D's are going to be the same. I'm going to score them both ways. So I am scoring, just so we know, on that 4¾ inch side. So it is 6¼ inch tall and 4¾ inch wide. So I'm at that 4¾ and scoring at 4¼ on each of these. I think this is the number 3 and one more to go. Oh, it looks like I'm going back now and scoring the back side of it. So I did have to do a voiceover for this video. I was using a new lapel mic when I recorded it, and for some reason I accidentally turned it off instead of turning it on. So I am doing a voiceover on this video. So if the timing's a little off, I apologize for that. I'm learning every day how to make these videos better and better. So now we're going to be working on that E piece, which is our envelope. So, or our pocket, sorry. And this one on the 7¼ inch side, so that long side, we're going to score at a 1/2 inch to start with. So on the left-hand side, we're going to do a 1/2 inch. If you want to flip the page over and also do a 1/2 inch on the other side, you can do that. Or you're going to score at 6¾ on that right inch side. We're looking for a 1/2 inch on both sides. So 6¾ I'm trying to decide which way I want to do it. I decided to flip it over because, again, I'm just looking for that 1/2 inch on both sides. So if you have a longer scoreboard, you can do it either way. I like this small one. It works really good on my desk. It's probably one of my favorite scoreboards. So if you don't have a good scoreboard, I highly recommend the Score Buddy for that. It's kind of my very, very favorite. I'm just checking my measurements here right now just to make sure that I am doing it correctly. And I think I need to make a slight modification to my instructions. So I wanted to make sure when I posted the actual instructions on the website, you had the most accurate ones. That's why I like to go through and do this project before I give it out to you. So now on that 3-inch side, we're going to flip that over to the 3-inch side, and we're going to score at 2.5 or 1/2 inch, whichever way you want to do it. So if you like scoring on the left-hand side or you like scoring on the right-hand side, I do try to score more on the right-hand side if I can. So you'll see me doing more of my scoring off that way. Now my scoreboard wasn't long enough to get all the way to the bottom, so you'll see I flipped that over so I could make sure to get the score all the way down. This is a 6, it's about almost a 7-inch, but because it was 7.25 inch long, I did have a little extra that I needed to do. So now I'm going to go through and I am just going to score and burnish all of these edges. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording for just a minute so that I can speed this part up. So I'm going to speed this part up as I go through and burnish all of those edges. Really work those burnishings, make sure you break down those fibers, and we'll be back with you in just a second. Okay, now I'm going to bring in both my right and left side. And remember where we did those 1-inch scores? Sometimes those are a little difficult to score. So I will oftentimes bring in a ruler or the edge of my paper to help me score those 1/8 inch mark, kind of to work the paper to get it started. So I'm using my Pear Blossom Press centering ruler here. This is a T ruler that I absolutely love. If you have not had an opportunity to check out a video using this, please check one out. I will try to do one. I don't think I've done one yet. This is the new A7 ruler that came out earlier this year, and it is breathtaking. What it allows you to do is not only find the center of your project, but also find the thirds, and it's a jig, so you can also line your paper up really evenly, which I am horrible at. So now I'm back onto my A. Again, I've got those 1/8 inch marks there, so I'm just bringing my ruler to help me with those. These don't have to be scored really crisply. It just needs to work the paper so that it can round those corners, because again, these are gussets for each side of our project to allow us to have some room to add some bulk into our project. So you'll see I'm just working these 1/8 inch. I'm not really even using my burnishing tool. I don't know where my Teflon bone folder was when I was working on this. It is my favorite, and I do tend to use it more often, especially with this heavier cardstock, but I think I put it away or had it in the other room, so I just didn't have it handy to grab. So I was just using this scoring tool, which I highly recommend if you do not have a Teflon bone folder to grab one. The one I use is from Trinity Stamps. It is my favorite. I have 2 different ones from them, so grab whichever one works for you. Okay, I'm going to bring in the base A right now. And what I'm going to do is attach A and B together. It's on just that 1/2 inch score line, not the 1/8 inch, but we're going to go right up to that first score line there on the right-hand side. I'm going to use some Barely Art glue. It's one of my favorite glues. Sometimes I use a combination of the double-sided tape and also the Barely Art glue. Gives me a little wiggle room before they bind together. The double-sided tape kind of helps it hold while the glue is setting up, but right now I'm just using this. So I'm going to go along there. I'm going to go through and burnish also. I want that glue to kind of spread out a little bit. I don't want it to come outside of the seams, but I do want it to spread out and kind of bind with the paper. I'm just double checking to make sure I have that fold, and I went to the right of that score line. So I don't want to go over the score line. I want to touch right up against it so I get that nice fold there. So I'm just doing, putting those 2 pieces together. And then in just a second, I'm going to bring in my C, which is my album base right side. And then, so kind of what I'm showing here is I'm grabbing the D. You will see the D is going to go on the side of the A there. So it's going to go on one side of the A and then on the other side right up against those 1/8 inch score lines. And then there will be 2 more of those D's in the middle. So now I'm just looking to see if I can find my C, because I want to put that one down next. Now this one also has those 1/8 inch score lines. Things get lost on your desk. I know that's hard to believe when you're working on these projects. So same thing here. So I'm going to come in on that 1/2 inch, that first 1/2 inch flap there, and I'm going to add glue to that. And again, when I glue my B down, I want to glue right up into that first score line. So right to the, on this side, the left-hand side of that score line, not going over it. So I want to make sure, can I still open and close my project, and just burnish that down also. So this project is really brought together by all of those little 1/2 inch scores that we did. It's how we're going to assemble our project. I decided to put the seams on the back side of my project, because it's going to be the back side. Also, it'll be covered up by our paper when we go to embellish it. So that's why I kind of like to hide it there. Now on the D's, when I join them, usually when I'm joining pages like this, I like to cut off a little bit of each corner. You can see I'm doing these little triangles. It's called mitering the corners. What it helps with is it helps so that way you don't have a lot of bulk at those seams where we're folding our paper. And it also helps so that the paper doesn't kind of show over the top or the bottom. So I will go through, I'm going to miter those corners. I'm going to dry fit this into place. I do like to dry fit everything before I start gluing it down. It's a recommendation that I make. I'm not very good at doing it all of the time. So you will see when I do make mistakes, it's probably because I did not dry fit it to double check. So I'm gluing on the back side of that 1/2 inch flap that I scored, and I'm lining it up right on that left-hand edge. So I'm making sure that it's right up to that left-hand edge, that the top and the bottom of that page also align with the top and the bottom of the A. Now, if I wiggled it wrong, or if it's not directly lined up, so here's where I'm lining it up with that top and bottom, I can rework that score line on that left-hand side to kind of make it fit into place there. So it gives me a little bit of working room. This paper is very heavy, so it does require a little bit of work. I'm getting some muscle in there. I probably would have recommended not using such a heavy cardstock to make this, but you know, it is what it is. We're working with what we have and we're going with it. And it was it ended up being an absolutely beautiful project. So this one here, I'm going to go to the very first 1/8 inch score mark here, and I'm going to lay this down right up against it. Again, don't want to go over it. I'm going to make sure that I can still work my paper. I can still fold it and it's not obstructing that first 1/8 inch score mark there. I'm going to also line it up at the top and the bottom, making sure that paper is in place, burnish it down with my fingers to start with, and then with my scoring tool. Again, make sure I work all that glue in. It's hitting all the edges of it, but not seeping out of the sides. And you can see how beautiful that is when it starts to close up. So this is going to be our first closure on the left-hand side of our project. And I'm just going to come in and work that paper again. So if for some reason it's not lined up, you know, we don't score 100% correct. We don't cut 100% correct. It gives us opportunities to embellish when those things are a little off. Just is what it is. It means that it's homemade. So now I'm going to pull the next 2 D flaps, and I'm going to miter those corners again, a little triangle off each side. And these ones are going to go on the, so this here is what I'm showing on the first project that I did with Layle. I added one more flap because I needed a little bit extra room to kind of mimic the layout that was on there. So I can come through and add some additional D flaps. There is some room in those gussets that I have on my sides that if I want to add more pictures, I can do that simply by cutting up a couple additional D flaps and adding those in on, you know, attaching them to the other D flaps. So for this first one, this is going to be glued down on our base, our center album B, and it's going to be right to the left-hand side or the right-hand side of that first 1/8 inch score mark there. So I'm going to go right up against it, touch it, but not go over. Again, we want to make sure we still have the room to open and close our album. So I'm going right up against it. And again, heavy, heavy paper. So I really got to work that glue in, give it a minute to dry. So that way that glue and the paper bind together. The paper does have a mind of its own. You can see it kind of stands up and opens on its ends. So you got to work it a little bit there. When I was burnishing it, I burnished it on both sides. So when I was laying those flaps down and using my scoring tool to score those, I was working it on the front side and the back side. These flaps flip open and close, so it's going to go back and forth. So now I'm gluing the second D, or the last D, I should say, down, and that one's going on the right-hand side of the B paper, and it's right up against the C 1/8 inch score marks. So again, I want to make sure it's touching the 1/8 inch score marks, but not actually going over. So now I'm going to bring in our E pocket, and same thing, I'm going to miter the corners, again, cutting a triangle out. And I want to go right up close to that little V or the score where they both meet. And that allows me to get rid of the extra bulk. So you'll see here, I'm not going to do it on this side so you can see how much bulk is right there at that edge if I don't take that off. And it doesn't allow the pocket to sit flat, and it just is really heavy in those corners. And then you see actually the paper kind of bulge out a little bit, and you'll see it hidden behind. So now I'm going to burnish this just a little bit more, make sure that it's going to be able to fold flat. I did not dry fit this one. So as I recommended earlier, always dry fit before you put it down. I think I had to wiggle it into place a little bit and maybe pinch it to make it fit in place. I could have adjusted before I fit it down had I done that. But like I said, I don't always do as I say, not as I do in these circumstances. But what I'm trying to do is make sure that I put those right inside those D's. Again, so that way I can still fold my paper over. I don't want it to obstruct those score marks. So you'll see me kind of pinching it a little, making sure that I pull that paper down. I'm going to burnish this from the back side. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of vellum inside that pocket so that glue doesn't seep out of where those gussets are, because I don't want it to glue my pocket closed. Now you'll see here, I did kind of go right on that score mark, so I do need to adjust my fold just a little bit. So that way it's able to close properly because I did not dry fit. So again, do as I say, not as I do. Double check I've got that those will fold properly. This is a heavier cardstock, does take a little bit of work. You'll see that, there's a little line in there. It'll be covered up by the paper, no need to worry. So now I've got the base of the album complete. And you can see this is a nice chunky album. There's lots of room in there. Even with a heavier cardstock, it still allowed me to add those pages in there without any problem. I'm going to go ahead and step away here for just a minute, and I'm going to decorate this album. So I'm going to come back in just a minute with a fully decorated album, and I will walk you through that. All right, now I'm back and I have finished doing some decorations on the second album I made. And actually, now that I look at it, I probably have enough paper to even make a third one. I know that's kind of crazy, but here we are. Miles and Memories from Layle by Mail. I've made two 6x6 mini albums with this layout. Again, I will post the original artist that I got inspiration from on this, but let's take a peek through this little album. Lots of little spots for journaling and also for some amazing photos. Added a couple little pockets and tuck spots in here. We got another little, I love this technique. I learned it from Sue from Simple Creations. And you can take your cut aparts and you don't have to cut them all apart. You can actually score them and turn them into a little book. So I added that little book there. It was Sue Kendall. And then we open this up and we've got another little photo spot. We have a photo spot with a journaling spot on the back of this. This is just a photo spot. Here we go. Just some cute little decorations. And we close this book up and away we go. So here we go, two different mini 6x6 albums, ready to go to their new home with great decorations on them. Thank you so much, Layle. This is an amazing paper line. I don't know if I'm going to use the rest of the paper in my TN or if I'm going to just make another 6x6 album. Who knows? Thank you so much and have a great day. Thanks for watching. This is Amanda, the Nerdy Crafter.